Last night's Sister Wives episode was honestly so frustrating to watch, and here's why. There was one person in that family who clearly understood what was really going on with this whole money fight, Christine Brown. She saw it, she named it, and she basically explained the entire mess in a way that made everything click. Christine said the reason everyone keeps clashing is because Kody will go to one wife, make some big decision for the whole family, and then force everyone else to go along with it, while telling each person a slightly different version of the story. And the wild part? That's exactly what it looked like. But every time Christine started getting to the point, it felt like Suki tried to shut it down, and I'm sitting there thinking, why are we stopping the one person making sense? Because if they had just listened to Christine, the whole episode could have been so much simpler. Instead, we spent almost 40 minutes watching them go in circles about this so-called backdoor deal. A deal that, let's be real, never even happened. Felt like something Kody basically created out of thin air so he could turn the women against each other. And he did it so smoothly, like it was second nature. You could tell he knows exactly which emotional buttons to push and when to push them. Now yes, on the surface, they're fighting over money. But the deeper you look, the more it feels like they're actually circling around something much bigger. Because what they're really dancing around is mortgage fraud. And I'm not even being dramatic. I genuinely couldn't believe this conversation was happening on national television, because Kody is basically admitting out loud that he couldn't afford his house. Here's what makes this so messy. In earlier seasons, Kody claimed that when they bought the house, it was all family money, like one big shared pot, and that's how they qualified. That was the story. But now, he's saying something totally different. He's admitting they didn't actually have the money to buy the house, and they had to borrow it. And this is where the family splits. Janelle and Meri have always said it was a loan. Robyn and Kody have always denied that and insisted it was family money. Now suddenly, Kody is calling it something else entirely. He's saying yes, the money was a gift. But Meri is still saying it was a loan. Janelle is still saying it was a loan. And Kody is calling it a gift legally, while also hinting he will pay them back, which makes no sense because if you pay someone back, it wasn't a gift. It was a loan. So what does that mean? It means Kody likely told the lender the money was a gift, because lenders require that sometimes. And now it's coming out publicly that the expectation was always repayment. And that is exactly where things get dangerous. Because if the lender was told, this money is a gift, no repayment expected, but behind the scenes it was a loan, that's the kind of thing that gets labeled as mortgage fraud. Same thing with Meri's situation because Kody was connected to her home equity. And if he presented that money as his available funds instead of borrowed money, that's another problem. So while they're all arguing like this is just family drama, what it really looks like is Kody playing everyone like a violin and potentially doing it to cover up something way more serious. Then there's the gift letter issue. If the money for Robyn's house was truly a gift, that means Janelle would have had to sign paperwork saying, I'm giving this money freely and I don't expect repayment. No secret side deals. No payback later. Nothing. But now Janelle is saying it wasn't a gift, which means the paperwork would have been false. And if the paperwork was false, that's a false statement to the lender. So now they're not only fighting about the money publicly, they're also publicly admitting that the documents they gave a lender might not have been truthful. And at that point, it stops being just messy family finances. It starts looking like something that could be legally serious. Because the truth is, they gave money for Robyn's house, and they wanted that money back. And that's where everything falls apart. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a second, you're supposed to be a journalist, Suki. He's basically saying, this money was a gift for the mortgage, and now they're saying they want the gift money back. So why aren't you asking the obvious question? Like, is that even legally allowed? And if it's not, does that mean someone committed some kind of fraud? But she doesn't go there. She stays on the surface. And honestly, she does that for the entire episode. Because even after Kody admits it was a gift, there's still this weird negotiation around it. And then Robyn jumps in and says they already paid Janelle back. Like they settled up with her and everything's fine. And I'm sorry, but what does that even mean? According to Robyn, it's like, yep, we paid Janelle back. We're good. But if Janelle signed a gift letter saying it was a gift and now they're paying her back, that makes it sound like it wasn't really a gift. It was a loan. And here's the part people don't always realize. It doesn't matter if the lender didn't lose any money. It doesn't matter if the mortgage company didn't take a hit. Even if nobody lost a dime, false information was given during the mortgage process, the fraud itself is what matters. And once you understand that, it makes the next part look a whole lot different. 'Cause in my opinion, the reason they sold that #knife home around the same time as all the Coyote Pass drama wasn't just because Kody and Robyn needed cash. It looks more like they were trying to get away from the mess, like they needed to move, shift things around, and clean it up. And what's shocking is, they're still talking about it publicly. They're literally admitting that someone got paid back on a so-called gift, and if the mortgage paperwork said it was a gift, that's exactly the kind of thing that raises red flags. And then you think about it, their house doubled, right? So that equity increase? They made that profit partly because other people put money into that home. Those people invested in it, and then Kody and Robyn used the equity from that home to put a down payment on the next one. So it's like they moved the money from one property to another, almost like trying to wipe their hands clean of it. But even if they fix the money afterward, the issue still happened. And I can't believe this is all being discussed on national TV like it's just regular family drama. Like this is the kind of conversation you whisper about, not broadcast. Grinning fist with sweat. Then Kody starts talking about a non-disclosure agreement, basically like, let's not fight about finances publicly. And Meri didn't like that at all, because to her it felt like a gag order, like he was trying to silence her. And what's frustrating is Suki keeps repeating Kody's claims like they're facts. For example, Kody has probably told her he's been paying Meri's expenses, but we know that doesn't match reality. The Meri straight up says that never happened. She's like, he wasn't paying my homeowner's insurance. That's ridiculous. But Kody uses that story to make himself look moral in front of Robyn, like, see? I'm not ripping anyone off. And it gives Robyn a reason to feel justified too, like, we deserve this money. Even though he never lived in Meri's house. And even though he didn't pay for it. And even though Meri paid for basically everything. Till legally, because Meri never removed Kody from the title, he could technically be entitled to half the equity. And Meri isn't even denying that. She accepted the legal part of it. She was fine with him getting the 50%, even if it didn't feel fair emotionally. What she wasn't fine with was the other part. She wanted her own 50% back. The money Kody used without paying it back. That's the part that burns her. And you can see the pattern. Kody tells everyone a different story, and because they're being interviewed separately, they can't keep the details straight. Honestly, they should have put them all on one couch, because the contradictions would have exposed everything instantly. Then it gets even darker. The claim is that Kody was basically going to give Meri the money if she stayed quiet. And not just quiet about finances, quiet about everything. A full non-disparagement situation. And that's why I keep saying, this was never only about money. It always looks like it's about Kody wanting nobody to expose what he's done. He doesn't want anyone saying anything negative about him. In the narrator's view, it feels like he's trying to cover himself, cover up his actions and protect his image. Robyn says the NDA was her idea. Kody says it was her idea or his idea, depending on the moment. Robyn claims she was stalling on signing because she wanted to save Meri, like she was playing the martyr. Kody claims he told Robyn not to sign because he had already signed, and he could still use her as leverage to pressure the agreement. Their stories are completely opposite, and that tells me something important. Somebody is lying, and it's probably Kody telling different versions to different people. 'Cause look at how it plays out. Kody tells Robyn he's going to partner with Janelle, and that lights Robyn on fire emotionally. Robyn comes in angry and dramatic, thinking she's defending the family. Meanwhile, she's not actually saving anyone. She's protecting herself, even if she doesn't realize it. Then, Janelle gets painted as the backdoor deal person that divides Janelle and Meri. Janelle believes the NDA was Robyn's fault, then Janelle blames Robyn. If Meri believes Robyn knew about the backdoor deal and didn't help her, then Meri blames Robyn too. And suddenly, nobody is mad at Kody. Do you see how perfect that is? It's like he's triangulating them, feeding each one a separate story, and because none of them communicate clearly with each other, they stay confused. They stay emotionally scrambled. And he stays in control. That's what it looks like to me. Kody pushing buttons, dividing the women, and keeping the chaos going. So nobody can fully compare notes and see the full truth. Janelle is basically sitting there like, We feel like we should do this backdoor deal. Janelle's pressuring me, she keeps pressuring me, and Robyn's acting like she's being backed into a corner. And I'm watching it thinking, okay, even if Janelle was frustrated, what does that have to do with you telling a different story every 5 minutes? Because Robyn keeps repeating the same line like it's her shield. Janelle's giving me all this pressure. And then she flips into this whole moral stance like, 1 minute she's loyal to Meri, the next minute she's doing this. And it's like, okay, Robyn, you can be annoyed, but what you're actually doing here is reacting to the exact game Kody set up for you. Christine saw this from a mile away. She gets it. She's lived it. She's done therapy. She recognizes it for what it is, narcissistic triangulation. That's the pattern where one person becomes the messenger, the translator, the middleman, and instead of the wives communicating directly, everyone is getting filtered versions of reality through Kody. He spins it just enough to make each woman look suspicious to the other. And Christine has basically said this out loud before, that Kody plays games, twists stories, and makes the women fight each other so they don't notice what he's doing. Even David has talked about it, how guys like this will purposely keep the women at war with each other because as long as the wives are busy fighting, nobody is looking at the man holding the match. And what makes this even scarier is how targeted it is. Kody doesn't just create random drama. He finds the exact emotional trigger inside each person and pokes it like a button. For Robyn, it's the idea that she's the moral authority and she already has tension with Janelle. For Janelle, it's the belief that Robyn is the sneaky mastermind pulling strings behind the scenes. For Meri, it's confusion, insecurity, and not knowing who to trust, especially with Janelle and their history. And that's why it's so easy for him to divide them, because he doesn't even have to invent new wounds. He just picks at the old ones. The saddest part? None of them are truly comparing notes. They aren't sitting down as a group and saying, wait, what did he tell you? They're all assuming Kody is telling the truth, and that's the first mistake every time. And Robyn, she's not just confused. She's choosing to be confused. She's willfully ignorant. 'Cause repeating whatever Kody says benefits her, protects her, keeps her in the safest spot. And then in the tell-all, she suddenly gets furious, almost yelling, and acts like she's so shocked by Kody's behavior. But that's not who she normally is. Robyn was angry, yes, but it felt like the kind of anger that shows up when you realize the story you've been supporting is starting to collapse in public. Then she says something that honestly made my stomach drop. When you get married to someone, the first thing you think about is, if it doesn't work out, you'll let me go. You're going to let me go. Think about that language. That's not how people talk when they believe they have freedom. She's basically admitting that under the rules of their polygamy world, she doesn't feel fully autonomous. It's like she's saying, if I ever want to leave, you'll allow it, right? And the fact that she even feels the need to ask that tells you a lot. 'Cause in some fundamentalist polygamy communities, women leaving isn't treated like a normal breakup. It's treated like betrayal. And it can turn into punishment, stalking, intimidation, being guilt back, being followed, being tracked. The way she speaks sounds like someone who understands that in that system, a wife isn't viewed as an equal partner. She's treated like property. And once you really sit with that idea, it explains something else too. Kody doesn't seem to view these women as independent adults with rights and boundaries. He acts like they're assets, like resources, like pieces he can move around. Because in a normal marriage, you don't think, if this doesn't work out, you'll let me leave. You just leave. That's what divorce is. So the fact that Robyn is saying this out loud almost exposes something darker. She's acknowledging that Kody can behave like the worst version of a polygamist husband, someone who won't release women emotionally, financially, or spiritually. And that's where this whole apology thing comes in too. 'Cause the apology he gave wasn't just about feelings, it looked like it was supposed to be permission. Like I release you. Like he still had the authority to hold them or let them go. Meanwhile, Robyn refuses to accept that she's done anything to Meri. She refuses to accept that Meri might have real, valid reasons not to trust her. She wants the entire financial mess to be pinned on Kody alone, like she had no part in it. But that doesn't work because Robyn has benefited the most. That's what makes people so frustrated. You can't say, I support Meri, while living in the mansion that was built with money tied to Meri's sacrifice. You can't separate yourself from the outcome when the outcome upgraded your entire lifestyle. Robyn loves to deflect and say, that's between Kody and Meri. But she can't pretend it doesn't touch her, because Kody's choices directly gave her the glow-up life. A massive home, jewelry, expensive clothes, luxury items, big shiny symbols of status, things the other wives didn't get. So when she acts like she's separate from it all, it feels dishonest. And her anger starts looking less like innocence and more like defensiveness. Like she's mad at Meri for even daring to feel hurt. Like, how dare you be upset when my life benefited from what happened to you? And at the end of it all, you see the full picture. Kody spins the stories. Robyn repeats them. Janelle reacts. Meri feels betrayed. Everyone fights sideways. And Kody stays protected in the middle. That's the game. That's the scramble. That's the triangulation. Robyn really tries to present herself like she has this unshakable moral backbone. She says, I have a very strict moral compass. I don't believe in this kind of crap. I think it's wrong. But then, in the very next breath, she basically admits she didn't trust Meri enough to be honest with her. And that's what makes this whole thing feel so upside down, because she's getting worked up over this fake backdoor deal, something that didn't even happen. No secret plan, no shady agreement, no betrayal. It was manufactured drama, a story that never existed. But she's not nearly as fired up about the part that actually matters, the part where real money was moved, real paperwork was signed, and real people were left short. She's not in a panic about the alleged fraud. She's in a panic about the story being exposed. And that's where everything starts to feel off, because Kody even admits that Meri still hasn't gotten her money back. That's not a rumor. That's said out loud. Yet Robyn keeps trying to frame the whole thing like, those are his actions, not mine. Those are his choices, not mine. But, come on, if you and your husband both signed documents and you're both living in the lifestyle those documents helped create, then you can't just wave it away like you're some innocent bystander. Whether it was your idea or his idea, you're still part of the outcome. And then Robyn drops this line that honestly says way more than she realizes. She says she couldn't tell Meri what was going on because it would be disloyal to her husband. So basically, you're saying that even if something is wrong, even if someone is being hurt, even if it involves money and fairness, you'll still cover for him because loyalty comes first? That's the part that makes people furious. Because it's not really moral compass behavior. It's protect the system behavior. And this is what she's melting down over. This is where she starts flipping out emotionally like, I can't do what's right because I have to be loyal. And then she acts confused, like she genuinely doesn't understand why Meri is upset with her. Robyn, with a straight face, is like, she's trashing me and I don't even know why. I don't know what her problem is. And I'm sitting there thinking, how do you not know? If someone and their husband were benefiting from money tied to your sacrifices, if you were kept hanging on for years with false hope, if the longer you stayed, the more you contributed, and meanwhile they're living better and better off the system you helped hold up, and then the moment you finally call it out, they act like you are the backstabber? That is what real gaslighting looks like. And the scariest part is, Robyn isn't even directing most of her anger at Kody. She's directing it at Meri. Not because Meri lied. Not because Meri stole. Not because Meri manipulated anyone. But because Meri is finally refusing to pretend everything is fine. Robyn keeps saying she can't warn Meri about the fake backdoor deal, even though, again, it never happened. So it's like, why are we even acting like that's the big betrayal? And this is where the real truth slips out. What they're actually terrified of is that all of this is public now. That's why Robyn is spiraling. That's why it feels like a breakdown. She knows what this looks like when you say it out loud in front of the whole world. Now it's Kody blaming Robyn, Robyn blaming Kody, Kody blaming Janelle, Kody blaming Meri, everyone pointing fingers everywhere. But the argument being made here is simple. The only two people who truly benefited from the biggest financial shift were Kody and Robyn. And no matter what Robyn says, she's still married to him, she's still staying, she's still living in the benefits. And she did no better. She came from a monogamous marriage. She wasn't trapped. She didn't have to enter this situation. She didn't have to put herself and her kids into a life that looks like financial chaos, manipulation, and imbalance. So when Suki spends the entire hour replaying surface-level stories and never pushing deeper, it ends up feeling like the whole episode missed the point. Because the argument being made here is that Kody and Robyn are spinning all these fake narratives, backdoor deals, loyalty tests. I didn't know. I was pressured to keep the focus away from what's really being exposed. And in the narrator's opinion, it's all about covering up wrongdoing. And that brings us right to the outro energy. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you've been screaming at your screen too. And make sure you subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next breakdown. Thanks so much for watching, bye besties.